Okay, so when you think of New Jersey, what's the very first thing that comes to mind? For a lot of us, right, it's a certain sound, a specific kind of attitude, but today we're going to peel back the layers in the Garden State, and I think you'll see it's a place that's way more complex and honestly a lot more interesting than the stereotypes. So, let's dive in.
Oh, yeah, you know this sound. It's that classic, tough guy, almost mafioso accent we've heard a million times in movies and TV shows, from Midnight Cowboy all the way to The Sopranos. It's the sound the entire world hears and immediately thinks Jersey. But here's the thing, here's the twist. For a huge part of the state, that accent sounds just as foreign as it might to you or me. The truth is, there really is no single Jersey accent. The reality is more like a linguistic civil war, and it reveals a state that is split, like, right down the middle. See, to really get New Jersey, you have to understand the two massive cities that are basically squeezing it from both sides. You've got New York City to the north and Philadelphia to the south. And their gravitational pulls are so strong that they've literally split the state into two totally distinct cultural and linguistic zones. That's right. The state is basically a linguistic battleground between two of America's most iconic dialects. Up in the north, you get that punchy, familiar New York sound. But you head south, and you are in a completely different world, one that sounds a whole lot more like Philly. If you've ever seen Kate Winslet in Mare of Easttown, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And you can really hear the difference. I mean, it's not subtle. In North Jersey, they famously drop their R's, so butter becomes butter. But in South Jersey, that R is hard and sharp. Someone from North Jersey might order a cup of coffee, while someone from South Jersey is famous for asking for a glass of water. These are just fundamentally different ways of talking. And look, let's just clear this up once and for all. That whole Jersey thing, it's a total myth, a complete stereotype. North, South, Central, literally no one says it. Period. End of story. Now, this divide, it doesn't just stop with accents. No. It goes right to the heart, to the very soul of New Jersey culture, the deli counter. I mean, how you talk is one thing, but what you order for lunch, that's a whole other declaration of who you are. So in the north, it's a sub. Down south, it's a hoagie. And trust me, they will tell you it is not just a different name. They'll say there's a subtle but really important difference. A sub roll, usually softer, sliced clean in half. A hoagie roll? That's typically harder, and it's split open on one side like a book so you can stuff it. It seems like a tiny detail, but it's a huge point of regional pride. But honestly, the whole sub versus hoagie debate, that's just a warm-up act for the main event, the war between Taylor ham and pork roll. Now, it's the exact same processed meat product, but what you call it is a fierce badge of honor. And there's actually a cool historical reason for it. The product was originally called Taylor's Prepared Ham. But then, after the Pure Food and Drug Act of 1906, it didn't meet the new legal definition of ham anymore. So the company had to rebrand it as pork roll. The North just kind of kept the old name, and the South went with the new one. And this really gets at the heart of this friendly rivalry. For folks in South Jersey, the logic is just simple and undeniable. Like this one Reddit user put it, you don't need a big historical debate, just read the label, it's right there. So we've talked about different accents and different food names, but this isn't just about some quirky regional habits. It actually points to a much deeper sense of division. This feeling that New Jersey isn't really one state, but two, constantly competing for resources and, well, for respect. And polling from Monmouth University makes this feeling crystal clear. I mean, just look at this. When people in South Jersey were asked if state resources are divided up fairly, the results were pretty stark. A whopping 56%, you can see it right there on the chart, believe North Jersey gets more than its fair share. Only 6% feel like their own region gets a better deal. Patrick Murray from the Monmouth University Polling Institute, he just summed it up perfectly. He said, South Jersey is the state's Rodney Dangerfield. You know, I get no respect. That feeling of being slighted, of being overlooked, has become a core part of their identity. And to make things even more confusing, nobody can even agree on where this invisible border actually is. I mean, look at this map from the poll. Depending on who you ask, a town like Princeton or Trenton could be in North Jersey, South Jersey, or something else entirely. It's just a blurry, contested line. And that brings us to the final and I think most fascinating twist in this whole story. What if the whole North versus South divide isn't even the full picture? What if there's a third, kind of mysterious region that just refuses to be ignored? And would you look at that? The data backs it up. When you ask residents where they live, a full 35% of them, that's more than a third of the whole state, say they're from Central Jersey. They completely reject the North-South binary. And this isn't some small little group. It's a huge chunk of the state's population, and they have their own distinct identity.
As Patrick Murray explains it, maybe it's not a hard line at all. Maybe it's more like a wide transitional zone. Central Jersey is this unique middle ground, this region with its own identity, caught right between the orbits of New York and Philly. So what does this all tell us? Well, it shows that in New Jersey, the way you talk, what you call your breakfast meat, how you see your place in the state, it's all deeply connected. It all seems to come down to where you live in relation to those two giant urban centers that basically define the East Coast.
And that kind of leaves us with a much bigger question, doesn't it? New Jersey's story shows us that regional identity it's fluid, it's complex, and it's deeply personal. It's a powerful reminder that the lines on a map, they rarely tell the whole story about who we are. So what really defines where you're from? Thanks for joining me for this one.